All right, so the other day I was over here and I was messing around and I was trying to get the controllers working. Now in this other room here, I've unplugged it, but this room here, the creepy room, we have a motion sensor up here and everything was working. She's still plugged in, so she goes off as soon as the generator turns on. But everything else in here does work. But if we come back out into this room, when I was messing around with this thing the other day, one of the problems I had is that this witch, my lunging witch, which is, oh Jesus, that's a lot of witches. The lunging witch was not working properly, right? So to recap real quick, for anyone that was missing out on that fun, I hooked her to the Peekaboo Plus. Now this other one works fine, the spellcasting witch, but this one here, I hooked her to the prop controller and nothing happened. Now the same thing happened last year. I hooked her to a prop controller and it never would work. I was using a remote controlled one last year, but same thing. The relay would click, nothing would happen here. Now, this year, same thing was happening and it was starting to bug me. And I'm like, well, let me try using the Spirit remote thing. So I grabbed one of my Spirit Halloween remotes and I hooked it up. And it works fine. It works perfect. Every button press, it goes off. There's no problems with it whatsoever. So I figured, you know, last year was a wiring thing. No problem. I'll hook it up again. So I hooked it up again. Still nothing. I rewired it. Still nothing. Used a different plug. Different cables. Nothing is working. I could not get this witch to work at all, except for using the Spirit remote. Like, I don't get it. The plugs are all the same. Anyway. So I pulled her control box off and I took it to work with me. And before I started work this morning, I cracked it open on my desk and I found on the back side of the control board, I found the 3 solder joints that correspond with the pins connecting the Try-Me jack into the control board. One of the things I had done troubleshooting-wise is I plugged in just the plug and I took the 2 bare ends and I touched them together. That's basically what the Try-Me's do. The Try-Me is just a momentary closed switch. So it's normally open, you close the 2 wires, and then it triggers the Try-Me. So I just took the plug and I took the bare wires and I touched them together and nothing would happen. And that means that something is not working properly, be it a jack issue. I don't know what the issue is. But either way, touching 2 wires together was making it not work. So I took the control box apart, found those 2 connectors of the 3, 2 of the 3, and I took a paper clip and I jumpered it. Instantly went off. Let it finish. Jumpered 2 pins again. Instantly went off. So far, at least 3 activations in a row, I'm successful using just jumpering those 2 pins. So I'm going to go find myself a knife or something. I think I have one somewhere. Maybe I have some in the back of my car. I'm going to go cut some more of this alarm wire off. I want to give myself plenty of extra room. We're going to solder a section of this wire directly to the control board and make sure it works that way. Because if that works, touching the 2 wires together, then I know our controller will activate correctly. Plus, the controller is actually home, so I'll be able to test that too. Anywho, that said, I'm going to go do that and see what else I can get to do. This is the inside of the control box for the lunging witch. Let me show you real quick the problem I'm having. Now you're going to have to bear with me. It's kind of hard to point out different things in here. All right, so we're going to point you into here. It's a little hard to focus. I've got a little screwdriver here, sort of. It's a T, looks like 10. Anyway, these 3 right here, 1, 2, 3, these bigger blobs of solder right there, those are the solder joints for the back side of the Try-Me jack. So, I was under the impression that this one here and this one here, these 2 here were the 2 that would get connected together and that would then activate your prop. So what I had done is I went to work and I took a paper clip. Now this is a lead wire, but I used a paper clip and then I did this. I touched these 2 together and you'll listen and if you hear it.
Well, hello. You don't happen to have...
So I thought I was in the home stretch. I'm like, perfect. So I grabbed a set of alarm wire, brought it back home. I grabbed a piece of alarm wire and I soldered the wire to each of those connectors, and I left myself about 12 feet of it so that way I could put the other end into my prop controller, my Peekaboo Plus. And I touched the 2 ends of the wires together and nothing happens. Nothing happens. Nothing freaking happens. So here's the thing that I've run into. I'm going to turn you back around and show you. Because, again, the try me button is basically like taking two wires together and just touching them at the end, right? That's how a try me button works. It's just momentarily closing a circuit that way, which is how that should work. That jack should work that way. And I've got a little caveat to that at the end of it. But let me turn you back around and show you what I found. So what I found is that, like, this is the one side and that's the other side. But watch this. We don't have to actually connect the two. We just touch it.
Do not fear ugly witches.
But the interesting thing is, like, this is just a regular wire.
Want to play a game of tag?
So I don't know what is going on. Same thing up here. These two holes right here are their solder joints. And I can just tap this one. Now this other side does nothing. None of these other ones, these other sides of this jack do nothing at all. But this one, this side...
Excuse me, can you help a sweet old lady find her cauldron?
So that's very confusing to me. I don't know how that works, really. Something obviously is not right. And I don't know how to fix that. So my first thought was maybe it's something shorted in the jack, but that doesn't explain why the spirit remote works perfectly fine. Yeah, so I have a couple options if I want to use her this year. I can either leave her remotion activated, but really doesn't play nicely in that room. That room really isn't... I guess I could put her back into the... Well, yeah, I guess. Like, I guess I could put her in the corner where she was, facing the people, and when you walk into the room, she'll activate, and then I guess I could put the Pico on a delay, so when that triggers, it doesn't do anything until after X number of seconds, giving her time to do her thing, and then the other one goes off. I'm trying not to make it so the rooms have so, you know, like a 10-minute wait to go through all this stuff, right? So, yeah, I haven't exactly figured that out. I could put her outside somewhere and then use the spirit remote to activate her, but she really doesn't have a good place to be outside for that. So I haven't yet figured that out. My first thought is to go online and find something else. Now, I don't have a ton of extra budget this year. Certainly wasn't planning on that sort of thing happening. But again, I thought we were going to be good because the spirit remote was working. I'm like, oh, great. My other problem is it must have been something I did wrong. I'll just rewire it. We'll be great. And turns out no. So I haven't yet figured out what we're going to do with it. And yeah. All right, so we're back over the house. We are going to remove our lunging witch from the picture. Don't know where I'm going to put her just yet, but we did need to move her out of the way because we have another witch to go unbox from the car to take her place, at least for the time being. All right, well, here she is. According to the box, a 5.5-foot animated seaweed witch. Now, the plus side is I have already tested this one by touching two wires together, and she works. So I'm going to go grab the Peekaboo controllers, and we're going to hook one up here and make sure that this one works. Now, another thing I have decided, I am going to leave her out here. She's just not going to be plugged in. She's just going to be a static prop for this time. I still have to take her robe, gown, skirt thing home and wash it. I've put the motion sensor right there, and I think we're not going through this door because Barry's right there, but I think if I just run it down and across the floor, I think back here under my buffet table there, I can move my extension cord over there a little bit. I think that'll work fine for where my Peekaboo controller's got to sit. Speakers are going to be back there anyway, so I think that'll work out pretty well. I've decided to shift gears real quick, and we're back working in the maze. I just had to come get some screws and some zip ties. So we're back in here into the maze with our brighter white. And what we're doing is I have that vampire cable, and it's going to plug in up here, and it's just going to go straight over Art's head, right over there. Through there, you can see where I've pulled the plastic down a notch to get to it. From over there, straight across, above the twitching clown, and then down that away, above Dagger Mike. I don't have all my plugs. I've only got 2 female plugs right now. So we can only get a couple things plugged in, but I want to get Art plugged in. I want to see how he does back here where we're at. So I'll be right back. So I've got my candle. Let's go through the maze and see how it works with Art and the twitching clown. Those are the 2 I've plugged in. Now we would have a scare here. Boo. We got scared. Yay. Come around the corner. And then eventually we'll have Dagger Mike down here hooked up too. So I think that'll go over pretty well. Should work all right. I do need to adjust the bases. So this twitching clown is very, very balance focused. He needs to really be level to do it. So I've actually got a mouse trap, a rat trap hiding under it right now, holding him in place. But I'll get some shims and things, and I'll get him kind of, I'll probably just screw them into the floor once I've got him in place, just to hold him in place. So as you can see, we just threw our vampire cord across the top and all over the place, and we threw a couple plugs in, rerouted the plugs for the props straight up, so we don't need extension cords, which is awesome. Dagger Mike, he might be a little close, but we have an ace on our sleeve there because we've got all this extra, so we can actually just put the plug at the end and just leave it draped behind him. So that'll be perfect there. Now the problem with Art is he does like to turn, and if we keep him turned too far, then he hits the wall. So let's get him to go again. You can see he just clips the wall there. And again, he really does need to sit back a little bit. He's leaning forward a little bit, and I think he's supposed to lean forward a little bit, but he's a little too far for my liking. All right, so last thing we're going to do before we leave is a proof of concept in the creepy room. I've got the prop controller hooked up. I've got the speakers hooked up. Basically, everything's just dangling there for the moment. We can tidy it up later. But we can see what it looks like, or see what happens. And we also need to dial in the timing and stuff, but you'll kind of get the general idea, so yay.
Can you please help me? I fell down and hurt my head and I don't feel very well. I think I'm okay.
Yeah. So as you can see, work in progress. We need to work on the timing. I forgot to turn down the horsey girl, so I'm hearing double things, which is weird. So the two problems I've got going on right now is this little girl who spins her head around. I have to figure out how long that takes. I got to time that real quick. And we need to make a new scare sound. I think it's raining more. And that's because right now the way it's set is you've got a looping ambient sound. In this case, it's just blank. It's a blank sound that just loops. When the trigger happens, when the motion sensor gets set off, then it automatically switches and triggers the scare sound, the action sound. And in this case, that's the lullaby singing. And then there's like a 20-second delay, I think, after the lullaby starts singing, that the creepy girl sound is supposed to come in on the recording. But I need to figure out, do I need to put more of a delay on her to allow more time for this creepy girl up here to do her stuff? So let's come back in again. And we're going to come over here to this little girl, and we're going to turn her all the way down. See, there we go. That's her sound, the speakers. She's still going. But there is some promise, though. I actually unintentionally managed to get it so when she says you're all going to die, the other little girl jumps forward. But we do need to fix that timing. I think we need like another 15 seconds worth of gap between when the trigger happens and when she goes off. Now, I don't want to set it so the trigger happens and then the lullaby doesn't start singing. She can start singing right away. I'm fine with that. It's just the other side. So we're slowly getting there. I really wanted to get more done today. But we did get our new witch put up. We've got the vampire plugs plugged into the other end of the maze, so they're powered up now, except for Dagger Mike. So that's good. That prop controller kind of proof of concept type of thing is going on. I'm going to load up what stuff I need to take home with me, which isn't much, but we do need to take the clothes off of her because they really need to be washed. So I'm gonna head home, and then we'll come back either tomorrow after work or more likely all day Saturday, or most of the day Saturday. I do have to work until noon, but that'll give us a lot of time to get props moved around for the front yard and tombstones out, probably mow the lawn if it's not raining, that sort of thing. So we'll see you back here on Saturday. So the agenda for today, since it's 1 o'clock and I've got all day, we're going to try to organize where the front porch is going to be, what props are going out in front, all that fun stuff. But we do have to mow the lawn and rake the lawn first, but that shouldn't be very long. So we've got the big generator running. It's pretty loud still, even with some insulation on it. But the big thing is, how warm is it going to get? And it seems like it might be getting too warm already, at least in the 10 minutes I've been running. I'm going to let it run for a little while longer, and then we're going to open up the top, see what this feels like. Worst case is we just open the box up and let the heat out. But it is running, and it is running through the exhaust down here. The problem with that is that pipe gets very hot. So we're going to open this up to a 6-inch pipe as a spacer, but not right now. Just trying to get an idea for how well the space inside the generator box is going to heat up. All right, so we're back here and here. Unfortunately, there's a window right back here. This is where I need to get my power for my stuff. We need to have an extension cord in here, and then I need to also get a ladder up into here, see what's that way, because we have to get some cameras in here too. But I need to open this up so I can figure out where the window pane is, see if I can crack that open just enough to get a power cord into here. Once it's in here, I'm fine, but I gotta go find a knife. We're going a long way to get an extension cord into this back room. That's still going. Air intake. Definitely getting some heat out of here this time though. So this might actually work. I might just double up the vents over here maybe. Might work. We'll open this up in a second and see how warm it is, but at least I have to haul through the sill enough to get an extension cord. Yay! There. Now we're getting more like it back here in there. Scary room. Let's come through this one. I lost my candle. That's the problem. It's out here. All right, worked out pretty well. With the speaker on, you really don't hear the generator all in there. Because I really wasn't paying attention. I didn't really hear the generator much of anywhere, which is good. So I think that's going to work out fine. We just need to get the whole ventilation thing going. And like I said, worst case scenario, if it gets too warm in there, I'll just knock out an entire side just like I did last year, because I know it'll work that way. But I think all I have to do is get a little 12-volt fan, put it up in there, and plug that in. Now, I used to have an extension cord. Nope, I used to have a power strip. I bought one specifically for that, and, well, in true me fashion, I don't know where it is. So, cool. Let me go through... Yeah, I've got that speaker cranked up right now. And out here... I hear it, but I don't hear it a lot. And, yeah, I think as people come through, like, it'll be off by the time they get to it. Because, again, the plan is to turn it on once they get to that room. So we've got a good chunk of the front yard done. That is a graveyard something, graveyard ghoul or gravestone ghoul or something. I'll tell you exactly what he is here in a second. I bought him from Spirit this year. Box is in here. It's the Gravestone Ghoul. You can't even see me anymore. Anyway, we're in that first room, and I think I'm going to take Mr. Dark out. So it might be a little hard to see me out here, but this is how we set up the porch to be, well, out of the rain. So you can see Mr. Dark and my Scarecrow. Those two normally sit down here in the yard. We just lift them over the railing and set them up there. Same thing with my little graveyard, what do they call them? The groundbreaker type thing. He's just sitting back there, just chilling. Last thing we need to do is to move him, Jack Stalker. I have to figure out which one he's actually called. And he'll just move up here and just sit right here on the front of the porch. But I need to pick up all my tools and stuff before we do that. So I'm going to go ahead and move him here shortly once I get all the tools inside and call it a day. Alright, so we're back over the house, finishing up some more stuff. Trying to figure out a couple things. First thing we got to do is we're going to work on our generator box a little bit. I bought a 7-inch pipe to go around the 4-inch. So the way that'll work is I'll cut out a bigger hole, put the 7-inch sleeve on this one, and we'll use some chicken wires just as some like kind of a filler. And basically we're going to create an air gap between the inside one, which gets hot, and then the outside one to help dissipate that heat. I think that'll work. And then I actually brought over a couple of computer fans. We're going to hook on the inside of this and see if we can use it as a active exhaust instead of passive. So we're gonna tinker with that today. All right, to give you an idea what we're doing sleeve wise. So we took a 7-inch piece of pipe and put that in there, and then what I did is I took some extra chicken wire and I just scrunched a whole bunch of it up. And if we come back around here, I wound it around the pipe, slid the pipe in, so now the pipe is basically, you know, more or less centered inside the 7-inch opening, which gives it a lot extra breathing room. Now I got this idea from somebody else that I saw doing a very similar thing. They were using springs of some sort, I believe, and just coiled them around that way. I don't have any springs. This will kind of work that way, which is fine. And then the other nice part is that actually I'm going to throw some more on the inside, just the inside corner here, because it actually does hold the pipe up almost in line with where the exhaust comes out. Basically the whole idea is to just get the center section lined up with the exhaust so the exhaust is shooting straight out as much as possible. Other thing we did in here is I hooked up a couple of 12-volt computer fans. They work fine. These were brand new. They were on clearance. I bought them a while back for stock, like $1.50 a piece or something. So I just cannibalized the end of them, put a little plug down here, and I have a 12-volt 1-amp adapter inside. And that should help also with the removal of hot air, which we are going to test very shortly. So for testing earlier, I just wedged this block under here so you can see how we have the exhaust lined up with the pipe. But I'm gonna stash some more chicken wire in here. The 7-inch doesn't really move very much, so that's fine. And I can always take my little block of wood down here and just make something under here. Bend these screws up just to hold that in place. Something like that. We can move this screw up too. But you kind of get the idea. I can just wedge something under here to keep this from moving. We get that in place. We'll be golden for exhaust. So I'm hoping by doing that and keeping the hot air from the inside pipe from being in direct contact with the wood, that'll help that, as well as the fans to help exhaust. And then I finally found my surge protectors. So this black cord is actually going all the way around the house to that back light that we hooked up. The green cord actually goes, that's the one we messed around with the other day and got in there. That's charging up the speaker and whatever else we might need in there. I have some ideas. Then we just hook the RV cord to here, the one that's powering the house, and then the air compressor to the bottom plug right there. And in theory, power should be good. So I think I have a home for Emmeline if Emmeline moves forward, not up. But if I put like a panel fence wall right to here and hid Emmeline behind it, you wouldn't know that she was there until you were up in line. And I don't know, if I find a dark enough robe, maybe I can do some black with it. It takes some finagling, but if I could blacken the robe up, she'd be kind of very hidden in the dark. Well, maybe not, the lights are on, so. But I could put her there, and then she could jump forward towards people on the gate as they're standing there. So that might work too. People might be not paying attention that way, so that's a potential thing. But that's down the road for a bit. All right, well, so far we've managed to get the cables run for the cameras. We still need to mount the cameras. I'll go back and do that in a moment. And then after that, we have the air hose run. Probably should just tape all that up. Everything's where it's got to go now, so we can tape that plastic back up in that window and cover that up. That's good. Power cord is run for the speaker and whatever else we might need in there, like a phone charger or something. Anything else we need power-wise in there, we're good. Likewise, the air hose is in there. So yeah, everything can be taped up there. We've gotten the speakers switched around for the prop controller for the witch's room, but we need to go back into the one for the creepy room. So still working on the timing of that one. What else we got to do though? Clean up, that sort of thing. We got to make the projector for upstairs, but that I do at home. I think we're almost done.